0600 hours, Caracas. On paper, this airspace is a fortress. It is protected by the S-300 VM, Russia's premier anti-ballistic missile system. It is watched by the JYL-1, China's advanced 3D surveillance radar. Military analysts called it an anti-access area denial zone, a death trap for American pilots, a place where the U.S. Air Force would bleed. Yet, by 10 a.m., the fortress was gone. Not just defeated, deleted. In less than 4 hours, the multi-billion-dollar air defense network, built with the best hardware Moscow and Beijing could export, was turned into scrap metal. They didn't even see the missiles coming. This isn't just a story about firepower, it's a story about speed. Today, we deconstruct exactly how the U.S. military dismantled a modern air defense network. We are going inside the cockpit, behind the radar screens, and into the invisible war of electrons that decided the outcome before the first shot was fired. Welcome to the anatomy of a 21st century blitzkrieg. To understand the magnitude of this victory, we first have to respect the threat. And make no mistake, the threat was real. For years, Venezuela has been the largest operator of Russian military hardware in Latin America. The crown jewel of this arsenal is the S-300 VM, known to NATO as the SA-23 Gladiator. Most people hear S-300 and think of an old Soviet truck. That is a fatal mistake. The VM variant is a beast. It's mobile. It tracks up to 100 targets simultaneously. It's designed specifically to hunt cruise missiles and high-altitude jets. And it wasn't working alone. Backing up the Russian muscle were Chinese eyes. The JYL-1 long-range surveillance radars provided early warning, creating a layered, redundant network. If you are an F-16 pilot flying into this bubble, you aren't fighting a single missile battery. You are fighting a mathematical certainty of death. As soon as you cross the horizon, the Chinese radar sees you. It passes your data to the command vehicle. The S-300 computes a firing solution. According to the brochures in Moscow, this system is unbeatable. So why did it fail? Why did the paper tiger burn so quickly? The battle didn't begin with an explosion. It began with a whisper. Enter the EA-18G Growler. While the world focuses on the sleek lines of the F-35, the Growler is the unsung hero of modern air dominance. It doesn't carry bombs to destroy buildings. It carries massive jamming pods to destroy information. Imagine you were a security guard in a dark room using a flashlight. Suddenly, someone shines a military-grade spotlight directly into your eyes. You aren't dead, but you are blind. You can't see the intruder. You can't aim your weapon. You are helpless. This is exactly what the Growlers did to the Venezuelan network. Using the next-generation jammer, American pilots didn't just blast noise across all frequencies. That's the old way. The new way is surgical jamming. The Growlers identified the specific frequencies used by the Chinese JYL-1 radars and the Russian fire control systems. They inserted false targets. They created ghost fleets on the enemy screens. Inside the Venezuelan command trucks, panic set in. Screens were flooded with static. Ghost contacts appeared and vanished. The operators tried to switch frequencies, a tactic called frequency hopping. But the American systems, powered by AI-driven algorithms, followed them instantly. The eyes of the S-300 were gouged out, and a blind boxer, no matter how strong his punch, cannot win a fight. With the enemy blinded, the door was kicked open. This is where the F-35 Lightning II proves why it is the most expensive weapon system in history. Critics love to talk about the F-35's dogfighting capability. They miss the point entirely. The F-35 isn't a fighter jet, it's a sniper in the sky. While the Growlers kept the enemy distracted, the F-35 slipped through the gaps in the radar coverage. Flying in stealth mode, their radar cross-section was smaller than a golf ball. The Venezuelan operators might have seen a flicker on their screens, maybe a bird, maybe a glitch, but by the time they realized what it was, the weapon bay doors were already opening. This is the kinetic phase, SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses. The weapon of choice? The ARGMER, a missile designed to hunt radar dishes. Even if the Venezuelan crews realized they were under attack and turned off their radars to hide, a tactic that saved Serbian missile crews in the 90s, it was too late. The new American missiles remember the last known location of the signal. They have their own millimeter-wave radar to find the target in the final seconds. There is no hiding. We have talked about hardware. Now, let's talk about the real reason for the 4-hour victory. It's a concept called the kill chain. In the Russian doctrine utilized by Venezuela, the system is hierarchical. A radar operator sees a target. He reports to a commander. The commander verifies. He calls headquarters. Headquarters authorizes a firing solution. This process takes minutes. In modern warfare, 5 minutes is a lifetime. The U.S. approach is network-centric warfare. An F-35 sees a target. It doesn't need to shoot. It instantly beams that data to a destroyer in the Caribbean, a B-52 bomber miles away, and the Pentagon, all simultaneously via Link 16. The decision loop is compressed from minutes to seconds. While the Venezuelan commander was still picking up the phone to ask for permission to engage, the AGM-88 missile was already impacting his radar van. It was a triumph of software over hardware. It was the difference between a dial-up modem and fiber-optic internet. By 10 a.m., the skies over Caracas were silent. The S-300s were smoking ruins. The radars were offline. The impenetrable fortress had been dismantled piece by piece with surgical precision. The lesson from this campaign echoes far beyond South America. It is a message to Tehran, to Pyongyang, and even to Beijing. Buying advanced hardware is not enough. You can buy the gun, but you cannot buy the reflex. The U.S. military proved that in the age of stealth and electronic warfare, if you cannot control the electromagnetic spectrum, you cannot control the sky. And if you cannot control the sky, you have already lost the war. So, was this victory purely due to technology, or was it a failure of training on the defenders' part? I want to hear your thoughts. If these S-300s were manned by Russian crews instead of Venezuelans, would the result have been different? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into modern air combat, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We have a video coming up next week comparing the Chinese J-20 to the F-22 that you don't want to miss. Stay sharp.